considered one of the best disciplined and best led in the Northern Army. The second New Hampshire has been divided up. Now more British troops have appeared to the left, and they're pressing their advantage.
Could be different size of the rifle, I'm guessing.
Now to your far right, the Germans have appeared on the field. Baron von Riedesel, despite the fact that he only had about 120 to 130 men, ordered his band to play loud. His troops started singing hymns to give the effect that there were many more men there than there actually were. With that happening, the Americans had to withdraw from that flank and start cutting back in towards the center. At this point, General Fraser was very much in doubt as to whether he could succeed in defeating the force of Americans he'd been confronted with. His message to Baron von Riedesel had actually been, "Come up or I'll be destroyed." He was actually seriously concerned that he was not going to be able to hold against an American counterattack. The Grenadiers and some light infantry wrapped around from the left side. The Germans are now to the right. Very angry British soldiers have spent a lot of time chasing the Americans, who are also hot, tired, and hungry, having watched their comrades being killed in the assault up the hill, are now going to start pressing their advantage. Bayonet charges pressing home. The American forces are breaking back to give themselves some space. As Colonel Warner had taken nominal command of the rear guard at this point, having been directed to do so by General Sinclair, he starts withdrawing his troops into a tighter formation farther down the hill. The British goal is to cut the Americans off to the north and south. They know if the Americans can gain the road again, they can possibly escape towards Castleton. Lighter cast. Now, unbelievably, 2 miles to the south of us was a large force of American militia. General Sinclair sent riders up to order them to reinforce Colonel Warner and the rear guard here at Hubbardton. The militia refused. Their officers were ready. The men abandoned the officers and ran to Castleton to join the rest of the army. The men here at Hubbardton are on their own. They're being pressed into a smaller area. They are in danger on their flanks. They're taking casualties. On the right flank, Colonel Francis is amongst his men. He's walking back and forth, directing his troops. He's a tall, imposing man, and he can be seen readily from the British side of the field. A lot of British officers actually state that they admired the way he was cool and disposed and correctly and appropriately positioning his men. Oh my goodness, Colonel Francis has been hit. With the loss of their commander, the 11th Massachusetts starts to break up. New Hampshiremen are starting to break on the right flank, giving the Germans and the light infantry on that side plenty of room to maneuver and pull in. The news is starting to close on the American forces that remain. Colonel Warner starts bringing his men back. In actuality, across the road, the Americans are breaking away from the fence, heading for Pittsford Mountain. The only avenue of escape is to cross a brook, climb a ridge, and get out of this valley. The Green Mountain Boys are holding the British back, trying to give the rest of the force a chance to escape. Just as the British close in, the last of the Americans escape across the Hubbardton Brook and escape up the hill. The British are going to be very careful in pursuing them.